Hello and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode, we needed some money, so we sent a bunch of tourists to the moon and back. Not that one, there's one, and that. Between then and now, I also did a bunch of these rescue missions, which do give you money, but the tourist missions are probably an easier way to make money. I did these because I wanted some scientists. Now we have all these missions, science data around Kerbin, orbital station around Kerbin, lots of liquid fuel, station around Minmus with fuel, station on a solar orbit, explore Duna, we don't have to come back or land, just go by there, test the turbo ramjet engine, station around Duna, test the nuclear engine, test a part around the sun. So I'd like to try and do all of these contracts in a single mission, although it may take 2 launches. So we need to send a station to Duna. The design of the station went to Valentina, and she did a perfectly respectable job here. Maybe 3 research labs is a little overkill, but it is called Research Station Omega. And nuclear engines, we need to test those. And the design for the lifter was supposed to be done by Jeb, but instead he just strapped some solid rockets to the bottom. Okay. Well, if this makes it into orbit, it'll definitely need some more fuel, so we're going to need a refueling mission. That'll be the second launch. Check our crew. And we can pick up our other 2 scientists from Minmus on the way. So let's launch. Now I have a new science part, this gravity scanner. Actually, I should show you the techs here. Let's just go to the research lab here. I unlocked some more techs using science from our Minmus base and miscellaneous stuff we collected. So I got this gravity scanner. This is very important for a science base. Is there anything else new? High power electrics for bigger solar panels, and this electronics for long range antennas. That's everything that's really important, I think. So back to our launch pad. Right, so we have this new gravity scanner, which we have not used before. We can log gravity data, and we get science for that. So I'm going to aim the camera at that so it's easy to zoom in and log the gravity while we launch. Okay, so here we go. We're going to basically go straight up. I might lean like 5 degrees towards 90 degrees, but we're basically going to go straight up. Now that we're flying, we can we not log the gravity data? Excuse me? Does not seem to be working. Can't be done right now. Okay. I guess we need to be above the atmosphere then. Or maybe we're accelerating too much. I guess we can process stuff. There. Okay. And our solid fuel boosters are about to run out, and all we have left are these nuclear engines, which do not have a ton of thrust. So, are we going to make it into orbit? Well, if we check our APO, we're at 83. It's a minute 49. Yeah, we can turn pretty hard actually. We can turn to like 30 degrees maybe. Even 20 degrees. Well, let's say 25 degrees. And once I get out of the atmosphere, I'll start time warping. Where's our gravity scanner? Can we do this? Yeah, okay, display is off. Toggle display? Yeah, it can't be done right now. Apo is still fine, or time to Apo rather. Is that going down? Okay, we're out of the atmosphere, so let's time warp. That is going down, so I don't want to nose down too much. But we should be okay, I guess. Probably. Valentina is a good pilot too. She's not Jeb, but she has her own strengths. And that's stable, so we can nose down more. It is going to be a little bit high, the Apo, but that's okay. And just point down to the horizon at this point, I think. At least she's a pilot. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do any more launches without a pilot to give us SAS, I think. That is quite annoying, I have to say. We have plenty of electric charge. We can start transmitting gravity scans, I guess. And we're almost at orbital speeds now. Just cut the throttle and warp. Warp here. Actually, we need to turn the physics time warp off. Warp here. We'll just raise our parry a little bit. I got distracted by doing science stuff while also, doing a rocket burn. So what's our Apo at? It's like 170. Well, that's fine. That's good enough. That's fine. And now we can start extending the solar panels. You want to do that before you run out of electric charge if you're using an unmanned vehicle. If you have a pilot or something, it's not as big a deal to run out of charge. And we can start doing our scientific experiments. So, process, 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 and that's all we can do. Process, 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 and transmit, process, transmit, 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 just keep on transmitting every time it's new, and if it's not new, then process it. Okay, reset, and keep on processing. And every time we process, that's 125 future science. Reset, reset. Now, we may have done all the biomes at this point. I'm not going to spend all day doing this. This is probably annoying. And of course, we can do our other classic stuff, like a crew report. And we can do it 3 times. And an EVA report and so on. That's why we have 3 research labs. You can see 75 data, 100 data, 125 data, and each data is worth 5 science. So can we level up crew? Yes, we can. Okay. All right. I think I'm gonna cut here, and I'll see you in the next episode where we'll be refueling this thing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, welcome back. I went ahead and collected all the gravity scans from our new research station, and that wasn't quite enough science, so I made a little science rover. If you didn't know, all these buildings count as a separate biome, so you can drive around to these buildings and do experiments at each of them. I didn't even go to all of them, and I got, 100 some science, which is enough because what I wanted to unlock was this here, actuators for these grabbing units. That is all we needed. So if we go to the space plane hangar here, come on, here's the science rover. Very simple, just a jet engine and some wheels. We can see the KC-71 Penguin. This is a tanker aircraft. I don't have rapiers, and so I'm using these turbo ramjets, which are also experimental parts. Just have some rockets in the middle. And since I don't have large wheels, you want to make sure if you have multiple rear wheels, I think it's better if they're aligned. Just match your center of mass and center of lift. I also have some RCS thrusters on this thing. So, yes, I have this advanced grabbing unit here that we just unlocked. Under coupling, right, this thing. It's much easier to dock with this than with a docking port, because you can dock anywhere. And our craft is quite close to the weight limit. It's 139.995 tons of a maximum of 140. But, there's no penalty for that. We got Jeb flying. Here we go. Loading. Space planes tend to have a lot of parts because, well, the engines aren't as big as some of the big rockets. So, launching space planes isn't always the most thrilling of things because the large number of parts means it can get slow. A lot of people speed them up, especially if you're recording. The frame rate gets slower. But I guess I'll just try and think of something to talk about. Go ahead and retract the gear. Nose up to 20 degrees. 25. The tanker aircraft I think makes a lot of sense if you want something practical. If you have a payload in a space plane, you have to make sure that when you drop the payload, it doesn't change your center of gravity. So you want your payload to be in the middle. But that means you have to build a U-shaped plane around your payload, which is kind of inconvenient, I have to say. Nose up a little more. You can do it for sure. I have, in fact. If you look at one of the earlier videos in the playlist, there should be a video of me doing exactly that. Another option, I suppose, is to put wings on your payload. You can't attach stuff to a fairing, though, obviously. So we have a contract here to test these engines. 8,000 to 10,000, well, we can do that. I'm gonna level off a bit. 20 degrees or so, I guess. Yeah, you can definitely attach wings to a payload, though. I guess it would be better not to have all of these rocket engines in the middle, because... Oh, we're not going fast enough. Okay, nose down here. We're not going fast enough for the contract, and now we're too high. Because more stuff on the back means more frontal area, and more frontal area means more drag. And you want minimum drag, obviously. The rapiers also produce more thrust. Okay, yeah. Run test. There we go, there's our contract done. And now pull up again. Pull up again. Okay. And I'm just gonna nose up to like 20 degrees or something. Very slowly. Maneuvering actually slows you down a lot because of these winglets. When they turn, their angle of attack gets to be really high when they turn up. There's a lot of drag. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait until we stop accelerating, and then I'll turn the rockets on. Maybe I shouldn't be nosed up so much, maybe like 15 degrees. Yep, we're going relatively fast already, though. Yeah, I'm just gonna wait until we at least stop accelerating. Okay. Looks like we've started slowing down, so rockets on and nose up. Like 25 or something, I don't know. I mean, this is... it should be okay. Apple is 27. The air is already pretty thin, so these poodles work pretty well already. We do have quite an angle of attack here. Apo is climbing rapidly. Time to Apo. Not so much. Okay. So flame out, and I guess I will pitch up to like 30 maybe. I can't turn anymore. Okay. Oh well. Well, these engines are quite close to the center of mass now. If you have swivel engines, if you have gimbaled engines, you want them to be far from your center of mass, which they usually are because they're usually at the back. But if you have like engines in the middle of your craft, they're not going to do much for your control if you change the angle, because they'll just push you sideways instead of turning you. Okay, well, still pretty low Apo. Okay, maybe I should have the engines further back just so I have more control. I don't know though. I don't know. Okay, once this hits like 70, I'll just follow the prograde. Maybe I should be following the prograde now, actually. Yeah, so that's fine. And we can just coast, actually. We're still in the atmosphere, but being a plane, we have relatively low drag. In regular Kerbal Space Program, not so much with Ferrum Aerospace, but even with the new aerodynamic model, it doesn't consider differences between sub and supersonic flight, which honestly, it's that might be a little too complicated for most people to find it actually enjoyable. I think I don't know if I'd want to include that, to be honest. Let's just check our contracts here. Yeah, we still have 4,000 units of liquid fuel here, which is good. We're almost out of the atmosphere. Yeah, I mean aircraft design. It's a very complicated topic in real life. This kind of blended wing body. Well, no, this is more of a flying wing. Flying wings, they do exist, of course. Personally, I'm more of a fan of the blended wing bodies. I believe Liebeck is too. Yeah. There's a compromise. There's sort of a trade-off. There are advantages to both flying wings and regular standard aircraft like a 737. And in my opinion, the correct choice is somewhere in the middle. We're already at Apo, but just burn, get on the prograde. Oh well. We're past the Apo, but it should be fine here. Being as it's a little higher than usual. Usual for me at least, I don't know. Maybe you aim for 200. I aim for like 75. Okay, 91.77. I mean, this is good enough, isn't it? We still have some liquid fuel and some oxidizer. We've used like, what, half of it? Ish? Half of the mass, maybe? A little more than half? That's not too bad if you consider the usual mass ratios of spacecraft. So let's switch to our research station. Since it is lighter, I guess it would be more efficient to get an encounter using this thing. So if we set this as target, we're basically relatively planar. In the same plane, I should say. All orbits are planar. And we bring our parry down and just increment the number of orbits until they're sort of close, and then we can do some fine tuning here. Okay. And we need to go retrograde a little bit more. We should pin this separation. Okay. Excuse me. Stop swapping. Okay, now it's going up. And do we need to burn? We need to do a plane change. That's bringing our separation down. Okay. 4 kilometers. 3.8. I mean, that may be close enough. I'm not totally sure. It's pretty close, though. So node in 2 hours and 31 minutes. So time warping would be a little bit annoying. I'm going to just warp to... So we want basically 3. I'm gonna do 2 hours of warping. Go to the tracking station here. Maybe 2 hours, 15 minutes. So we want 2 hours and like 30 minutes here. Okay, there we go. Switch back to the research station. And we have a maneuver node in 20 minutes. Just get on our target here. It's just a 73 meter per second burn. Relatively small. And we can just warp to next maneuver. By the way, the days in Kerbal Space Program are only 6 hours long. So, if you're wondering about something confusing about the times, that may be the explanation. So I'm going to wait until like 10 seconds. Okay, there we go. And I'm not going to worry about following the target node. I'm just going to try and burn until this stops going down. Okay. Now let's see what our separation is at. 3.1 kilometers. Good enough for me. Now what we're going to do is head here and burn retrograde relative to our target. So we can go ahead and warp like this far. And then we want to get on the retrograde relative to our target. Since we have the target set, that's just that becomes our retrograde basically. Just time warp a bit. Unfortunately, it's dark. Well, no, it may not be dark for the docking. What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm not sure what our pilot Valentina is doing here. Is this like the actual retrograde rather than the retrograde relative to the target? I'm not sure. Okay. So there's our retrograde marker. And I think we're out of fuel on these. Yeah, so burning our engines will not help us turn. It will not help us turn. Relative speed, 100 meters per second. And let's just add a maneuver here. Okay. Ignore that target node. That is just for timing. And yeah, the target is. If I set you to go retrograde, do you move? No, you're not moving. Okay. Okay. In 1 minute, I'll go ahead and start like 1 minute until the intercept. Or closest intercept. Yeah, target, you can see our relative velocity is going down. It's 40 meters per second. 20. And when that hits 0, you well, no, actually, because our retrograde is on the away from target, that means our prograde is on our target. In other words, we're heading almost directly towards the target here. Just get rid of that maneuver. Yeah, so now we want to burn mostly towards the target. We want to burn on the opposite side of wherever our prograde is. Are we out of electric charge? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. We have our solar panels open and 6,000 charge units in batteries. Okay, we are relatively close here. No, okay. I set it to prograde. What am I doing? Of course that's not going to work. Yeah, let's go like this, and then just stop turning. We should be heading directly towards the target now. And if we point in the direction of the target and we look along there, we should see it when it gets close enough. Which it is not. It is 5.8 kilometers away, which is way too far to be seeing anything. I don't think it's even rendered at this distance. In fact, I'm fairly sure that it's not. That's actually too much. I think that may be too much relative velocity, but well, we'll be fine. So, separation 2 kilometers. Okay, it's coming up. Let's watch this instead. Okay, separation 1.3, 1.0, 0.9, 0.5, 0.3. Okay, that's relatively close. Now if we switch to the Penguin, because this has the RCS, and we set the other thing as the target again, we should be able to get a dock, a whatever, a rendezvous. Unfortunately, it turns extremely slowly because I didn't add any reaction wheels, despite having unlocked them. Perhaps I should have added some reaction wheels. Might have been a good idea. I mean, this is more powerful than a basic capsule. It's like twice as strong, but it's still quite... It's still quite a large, heavy craft to be... Oh, okay. Yes. Start burning. Retrograde relative to our target. 6.8 meters per second. Okay. And come on. There we go. Separation 0.0 kilometers. I'd say that's pretty good. Okay, well, we're coming in for the final approach now, pretty much. So we're going to want to maybe aim camera here and arm this grabber. And I think at this point we can turn RCS on. Maybe we want to point a little more towards the target first. Unfortunately, okay, set as target. There we go. There we go. So, turn the time warp off. RCS on. And we want to align our prograde with the target, which is now the docking port. And we also want to turn the RCS off and just rotate using the reaction wheels so that we're facing directly towards the target. Yep, just minor adjustments here. I do have retrograde thrusters. It's a lot easier to come in slow, even though it is kind of time consuming, unfortunately. Just go down a little bit, maybe. Hey, we have docked. Excellent. Turn off the RCS. We have docked. And we have now fulfilled the build an orbital station contract, because this counts as one thing. And so now we have 4,000 units of fuel. So that's another contract down. Now we need to start transferring fuel. So these are empty. You need to open up a bunch of stuff, basically. You need to pin all of these tanks. Make sure that it's balanced, basically. Okay, welcome back. I've transferred most of the fuel to our interplanetary station here. There wasn't enough to fill it up all the way, but you know, it's mostly full. It's mostly full. And we didn't need quite that much fuel. That was a bit excessive. Well, let's decouple here. And we want to get back to Kerbal Space Center, so burn about there. And just warp to next maneuver. Okay. Now we're going to have a little bit of an issue due to center of gravity. You see all our engines are at the back here. Our engines are all at the back. And our fuel was more towards the front. So without fuel, our center of gravity moves way, way to the back. And that makes us a little bit unstable aerodynamically. Now, I could have added more tail fins. That is probably what I should have done, is add some tail fins. I do have these little winglets here, but I'm a little bit too light on the tail fins, I think. I was right up against the weight limit, and I was sort of skimping a little bit, I have to say. So, let's just time warp into the atmosphere here. I have burned up all of our fuel, and we are now in the atmosphere. Okay. And I'm going to keep time warping. And just keep an eye on our electric charge here. So here is the continent of Kerbal Space Program coming up. Those should be the mountain ranges that are ahead of it. And we'll probably start seeing flames relatively soon. Unfortunately, we're totally out of fuel, so we can't do too much necessarily. Okay. Altitude is dropping. And I'm just gonna sort of flop around a little bit. Okay. Well, we're not decelerating that fast yet. There we go. That's a little better. So it looks like we're gonna overshoot Kerbal Space Center, not program. But that's okay. It may be okay. We'll see. So I'm just flying backwards because the engines make us want to. This is slowing us down nicely, I guess. So I'm gonna just maintain a sideways turn. To maximize our drag on the rear. Just increase that and increase yes, that's symmetrical. Okay, there we go. And I mean, we're in a tailspin. Technically we're in a tailspin, and we have no fuel for a powered landing. However, Jeb has survived. We lost all the engines, but you know, Jeb seems perfectly content. Is he worried? Does he seem worried at all? No. Alright. So that was a perfectly successful mission. Good job, Jeb. Recover vessel. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.